Okay. Hello. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Hello? Still an echo.
Is there an echo? Yeah. Let's see if this is on. Turn it on.
Okay. Are we good? Yep.
Is there an echo on your end, Mr. Duncan or Nancy?
Not now. No, it was earlier, but not right now.
Okay, and
Right.
you guys can hear okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, good. I'll let her get settled. Good evening and welcome to the October 22nd Maynard Jackson High School Go Team meeting, where we are starting at 5:35 p.m. I'm calling the meeting to order. And can I turn it over to you, Ms. Galloway, for a roll call, please? To establish quorum.
Dr. Latchman,
Here.
Kimberly Leaks, here. Stacy West Wooding, here. Claire Gordon, here. Bryce Duncan,
Here.
Emily Galloway, Ms. Humphrey, present. Suzanne Mitchell,
Here.
Nancy Lamb is virtually with us. John McCall is not here. Anaya Williams,
Okay.
Milo Tana.
Do we have a quorum?
We do have one.
All right, I will, everyone has an agenda. I'll take a motion to approve the agenda. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstention, motion carries. And I would like to, I'll take a motion to approve the September meeting minutes. All right, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. I don't think we have any additional action items, and we will turn it right on over to you, Dr. Latchman. We'll start with our graduation rate.
All right. So about a week and a half to 2 weeks ago, APS released, the state released the graduation rate for all schools, all districts. And I am happy to announce that we had a 0.4 increase in our overall graduation rate. So we are now at 91.3 for our overall. And the breakdown is as follows. We had a 4-year grad rate of 91.12, which is an increase of 0.51 points from the previous year, and a 5-year grad rate of 91.69, which is also an increase that gave us that overall number. And for CCRPI purposes, it's just 2/3 of the 4-year plus 1/3 of the 5-year. That's how they get that overall number. So I also wanted us, I think the last time we talked, you guys were interested in, for every data point, kind of looking at how it looks subgroup wise. So our 4-year grad rate, as in terms of our subgroups, we met our subgroup target in every area except the Black subgroup and the students with disabilities. The Black subgroup was really disheartening because I think we missed it by a student. If you could see how close the target was with what we actually made, it was by something points. And then for our students with disabilities, we are well off there. So we've been talking through some things this year with our grad coach as how to better track those 2 subgroups of students. In terms of the 5-year grad rate, the only subgroup we did not show progress or meet the target was the Black subgroup, but you can also see that that was a student or 2 as well. And then in our SWD subgroup for the 5-year grad rate, we made progress, but we didn't meet the intended target that the state had for us. So that's why that flag is yellow-orange right there. Does anybody have questions about the grad rates?
But we also, I mean, there's a tiny bit of good news because our
absolutely.
economically disadvantaged, which would be our title families, correct? We saw an increase.
Yeah, so we're
above our target.
So we're trending
So
where
that's
we
good.
should be. We just have to figure out what would have been that extra push for that one student.
Right.
So those are like the hard questions to like ask at this point. But I think we did a phenomenal job. Of course, there's always room for us to grow. That's one of the things we'll talk about tonight as we build our strategic plan, because that is something that our district is continuing to look at, is the grad rate. All right, so tonight is supposed to be somewhat of a working meeting. So we are at the end of the previous 5-year strategic plan, and now it's time for us to build a new strategic plan for the next 5 years. So we're going to walk through a number of exercises to help us to get there. The first one being kind of understanding as a group where Atlanta Public Schools is currently, where they're trying to go. So understanding that we are considered the city's public school system, and that the goal is to educate and empower Atlanta students to help shape the future. So some things that Dr. Johnson is really big on is ensuring that we all know that as a system, we are a community of believers that are getting back to the basics. So strength is in our team. Our responsibility is shared. Ensuring that people know that our system is efficient and effective. And looking at strengthening our instructional core, caring for every child and not just academically, but the whole child, and sparking student curiosity. So these are just some of the points and some of the areas that Dr. Johnson feels are super important for all of us as a district to kind of embrace in order for us to move forward in the direction that, you know, we are all headed in for the next 5 years. Does anyone have questions, want to dive deeper into any of these?
I have a question.
Sure.
Under we are sparking student curiosity, looking at the 3rd bullet that states explore specialized and innovative school models.
Yes.
Is Dr. Johnson perhaps moving us into that direction? Remember we used to have like schools within a school?
Like smaller learning communities? Right. No.
Okay.
So what I think it is kind of expanding on the idea of having buildings that do a ACCA. Like, I don't know if you've ever been to their building, like it's phenomenal, but also including things like how Fulton has a School of the Arts, us having a School of the Arts, or DeKalb having their own School of the Arts. Okay. So ensuring that we have more spaces and we're creating more spaces for students to explore all of the things. Not that we're not doing it in our schools, but just having more like specialized places for things to happen. So I think that's what he
That is-
means by that particular bullet there.
Can I make a comment about that?
Sure.
Notes that Harvard, they are proposing to make Harvard school yards. That's one of the proposals.
Okay. Anyone else? Sorry. All right, so these are some of the district's goals over the next 5 years on the left-hand side, and then on the right-hand side are the key performance indicators as a district. So we'll also look at that for our own school, where we are and where we're being asked to go by the 2030. So the first strategic plan goal for our district is increasing proficiency in 3rd grade English language arts on the Georgia Milestones EOG. The second one speaks to numeracy, if you will, but it focuses on the proficiency of students in math at the 8th grade level. And then we get at high school, we get one of the goals being the CCRPI college and career readiness, increasing that by 20 percentage points by 2030. So there is kind of one for each, I guess, critical point at every level. So there's your 3rd grade, your 8th grade, and then what does it look like for our students leaving, going into the workforce. So those are the big buckets that the district is focused on over the next 5 years. Some key performance indicators that the district is looking at that we are also asked not to look at exactly, but to kind of model some of our own goals off of is absenteeism, students having a sense of belonging, disciplining students with disabilities and making sure that any disproportionalities are addressed, discipline Black students, student-staff relationships, developing student success plans, and school climate. So on the side where it's red tells where the district is currently at with these key performance indicators. And on the right where it's Black is what the target is over the next 5 years. So where we are and where we're trying to get to. The data I can propose comes from a number of things, from school climate data. They probably do like a whole district-wide. That's probably where they get the school climate data, of course. And then in terms of absenteeism and the discipline data, that's likely coming from our APS graphs and pulling for all schools and what that looks like now. But the sense of belonging, the school climate, those are things that are that usually come from our climate surveys that staff, parents, and students have to take about how they feel about the school that they're going to. And then of course, the student success plan is not something that we do currently, so we would be starting from 0% there. Questions about district goals or strategic plan?
Will we have conversations about the student success plans?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Now that hasn't come down the pipeline yet, but I'm pretty sure that that is something that we'll discuss in terms of what it looks like, what the expectation is it all grade levels, all of those ins and outs of it.
I'm sorry, for that data to the right, is that from the school climate surveys, or is that one of the career readiness indicators?
Where?
So all of those on the right, are all those coming from one specific place, or are they just all different?
I think all different, like the 68.8, the red,
Yeah.
from different things. So if we look at like discipline, so discipline data is going to primarily come from your Infinite campus, because that's where we would code all discipline. So would absenteeism, but things like the sense of belonging and the school climate is from like the annual survey data that everyone in the district has to take. So the district gets kind of like a climate rating, and so does each school. Does that make a little better sense?
Perfect.
Okay. Okay, so in order to develop our plan, some of the things that we're gonna do tonight, we're gonna review our mission and vision. We're gonna talk through our purpose, you know, what it is that we're saying that we're doing, what results do we want to satisfy the needs of our school community in terms of just everybody who's involved, or staff, or students, or parents, community partners, and the like. What are some of the focus areas that we would need to have in terms of continuing our improvement over the years, and then what strategies and actions are we going to employ to get the job done? So for each of our goals, they want us to align to something literacy, and you'll see how we were asked to write our continuous improvement plan this year in a second. Something around numeracy, and then something around college and career readiness, or school climate, or whole child. And those are some examples of some goals that they have there. But our focus tonight is really around the mission and vision, coming up with strategic goals that we feel are going to move the needle for our school. And what are the focus areas and objectives based on those strategic goals? So what are the continuous improvement activities that we feel are needed to achieve the goals that we've set, or we're going to set tonight? So this just tells a purpose of strategic planning, and it's just to make sure that we are aligning, if you will, with what our district's expectations are, but in the same token, doing what we know is right for our school community. So every cluster will have the opportunity, every cluster and every school will have the opportunity to do the same thing. So it's just making sure that we are hitting the goals that our district is suggesting, while also doing it in a way that will work for where we are and what we need. Hopefully I'm not just babbling and you guys are with me. So timeline. So we will start the process tonight, but really we have until January to ensure that it's approved. We're going to focus on the strategies as part of the fiscal year 27 budget and continuous improvement plan process. So anybody that's ever written an improvement plan knows that it is ongoing. So there are things that we're going to come up with today, and then we may get our whole CCRPI. It's probably going to come out in the next week or so, and we may say, wait a second, I know we said this, but this is actually how we need to tweak it.
Can we just stop down for a second?
Yeah.
I know we have some new members on the committee. Does everybody understand what we're talking about? Do you know what CCRPI is? And do you know what the school improvement plan is? Or do you want a little bit of an explanation?
Okay, I think you can explain a little more, but I think I have the gist. That's a good.
Okay. Okay, good.
Let's baseline it.
Okay.
And do we have, I was looking before this to look at the 3-year plan from before this, I could not find it. Are we gonna go through what those were?
Yes.
Or we've got those?
Yes.
Oh, it's on, it's on.
Yes.
That was the last time.
We are.
Sorry, I didn't see this. Okay, and is this online somewhere too that we can
It
access?
should be
Should be on
on
the go.
several of like the presentations from last year's archives.
Okay, so
'Cause
from
that-
last year's meeting.
Mhm.
Okay.
That was something that always came up in terms
Every
of
year
like
you do
what
it
needs to
annually.
get tweaked and whatever else.
Perfect.
So
Thank you.
let's start with CCRPI. Would that be okay, Milo and Anaya? So every year, each school in Georgia and each district in Georgia gets a report card. And it's just like your report card where you made an 80 in math. So they tell you as a school and as a district, you made an 80, or you made a 60, or you made a 90. And what they do is they use it as a way to kind of tell how schools are performing. And there's some schools, depending on their performance, who get identified by the state and have to receive additional support, which is not, the place you want to be in. So CCRPI comes, like, it takes many different components. There are many different components involved. So one being our graduation rate that we just went over. The other portion is or content mastery on our Georgia milestones. So that's a really big chunk of it. So you know how we kind of stress you guys out about you have the milestones, you have the milestones.
Yeah.
So a big chunk of our school's report card comes from the Georgia milestones. Another big chunk, the state wants to say, if you are at this school and you have all these different subgroups of students, so you have students with disabilities, you have white students, you have Hispanic students, you have Black students, you better make sure that all of these subgroups can achieve at the same rate. So that's why you saw, like when I broke down the grad data, for every piece of data they give you, they're going to say, how are your subgroups doing? So that's an expectation of the schools too. And then there are other areas like college and career readiness. So they count how many of our students are taking and passing AP classes, how many of our students have completed different CTAE pathways like engineering or audio video. How are you guys doing on your SAT and your ACT? Are you making a score at a certain number? And they even go as far, believe it or not, to track students after they leave here and say, okay, you're going to college, but are you staying there? So they take all of these things and each component has a different percentage. They calculate it and they give you one big report card to say how you did. So at our November meeting, we'll actually be should be ready by then. The plan is to take a deep dive so that this group knows how we performed this previous year and what it looks like for each of the indicators. Does that sound a little bit?
That makes a lot of sense. I was not going to a report card.
You said what now?
I was thinking about a report card from where I was thinking of
Good analogy.
Yeah, that's a really good analogy. And then even stuff like attendance.
Oh,
So,
thank
so
you.
factors like if kids are coming to school
Yeah.
and they want to be there and our teachers coming to school.
Yeah.
And so, yes,
Yes,
exactly.
thank you for
So the
bringing
type
that
of
up, Ms.
climate,
Mitchell. I forgot that. So one of the big parts of CCRPI is your climate. And believe it or not, and forgive me guys, I'm always gonna talk about things I probably shouldn't. Believe it or not, a lot of people will look and say, do I really want to buy a home here? How many stars did this school get? And these are like determining factors in terms of the branding of your school. So every year, our school and other school gets a star rating out of 5 stars, just like a restaurant. So how many out of the 5 stars did you get this year? And they include things like your discipline data. So how many suspension days did students have? It includes what was the average daily attendance of your students? What was the average daily attendance of your staff? And those things combine to give you a climate rating and ultimately a certain number of stars. So we'll get to that as like how we are performing from last year with our particular data. So thank you. That was a big part that I forgot. And then improvement plans. You had a question though.
Oh, yes. So I was just gonna ask, I have 2.
It doesn't matter.
So I was just going to actually mention that post-secondary, like if they're staying in college, how they would determine that.
How are they determining that?
Yeah.
So we've never gotten a clear answer. So what they're supposed to be doing, they have like metrics and I think databases where they're calculating like a retention rate, if you will. So are you going and are you staying? And I'm assuming it may be a database within the university system of Georgia that they have that's kind of like outside of our realm, but it's number one, always going to be lagging data. And it's kind of like the one piece of data or one of the pieces of data that we really have no control of, which is always scary. Huh?
It's only if they're in state.
I believe it's only if it's in state, but I can get the answer.
Public institutions only?
I don't know that part, but I can ask. Because that is a good thing for you to know. So I could definitely ask the answer to that. But it's to me, it's like that mystery, like, okay, what now? So how are you tracking them? Okay.
And I would just think, being in this space now, that there has to be some type of, I mean, we're not the only state across the country tracking this. So I can't imagine there isn't some type of national data,
Yeah.
something happening.
It's
Yeah,
something like that, and I'll
Well,
be
there's
honest.
the clearinghouse for enrollment.
Yes,
So the National Clearinghouse tracks enrollment of every student in every college. I think almost all colleges use it to get enrollment verification. So they could be pulling data from that as well.
and a
That
lot
would
of
probably be
colleges
where they would
also
pull it
have to use it as their like accreditation data. So they have to speak to how many students are we actually graduating. So I'm pretty sure that there are
Yeah.
like
Yeah, the
databases that
clearinghouse
they
is where-
use.
yeah.
So my second question is just, is there a reason why there are specific groups of children categorized in the metrics
What you mean?
in the subgroups? Yes.
Oh, like where it says,
I guess I didn't notice that much. Like Black students, students with disabilities.
I don't think he ever had socioeconomically disadvantaged. I don't recall that being there last year. But that's how the state tracks us.
the state tracks us every subgroup, but let me clarify, is your question, why is the district choosing to focus on these subgroups?
Yes.
Okay, great question, because there is usually data to show that students with disabilities or Black students are disproportionately disciplined. And so we gotta track it to see if it's true, and if it is true, why? It makes you ask the hard questions and do the hard work. I think that's why the focus on that is there.
Disciplined and that could be a reason as to why they're not performing as well.
What? What's the reason?
I mean, that could be another indicator as to why kids aren't, Black kids specifically, who are disproportionately not performing as well as their white counterparts or their Latino counterparts. Things like discipline, housing conditions, access to food, like all of those other things. Poverty rate, can tie into it in a larger, from a larger discussion perspective. And meeting their needs, why we have food pickup.
But I think the groups, that's why me being a data person, they overlap, right?
Absolutely.
You have double
Absolutely.
counting, right? So you have some Black kids that may not have disabilities. You may have some Black kids that may be low income. You may have some Black kids that are not. So I think we have to understand the grayness as well, and not
Absolutely.
necessarily lump.
Mm-hmm,
We need to learn how to split.
mm-hmm.
That's why I like that, because
Mhm.
just saying Black kids,
Mhm.
that's
a
too
misnomer.
broad,
Mhm.
right?
It's definitely a misnomer, because I wouldn't necessarily say Black kids because of discipline and lack of access. That's a broad statement, right? Can't necessarily say that for all Black kids, that's,
Oh, yeah.
So we need to be able to be strategic in our statements, right? And be able to split the data out accordingly to ensure that we're accurately describing what our students look like.
Do you think the data, I think them breaking it out is
This
critical.
is better.
Yeah, I think
would
that's
say it's
much better.
I think we got some growth.
So it's,
But
this
it's
is,
encouraging our Title I data.
so one of the things that I have on my to-do list this week, I just haven't gotten to it yet. Each school has a data strategist. And I was kind of struggling with some of the same things you were struggling with, and asking for, can you give me a spreadsheet where I can do this subgroup and this?
Yeah.
Or this, you know what I mean? So I can kind of have us, but I haven't gotten to it yet, but I hope to have that the next data talks we have with CCRPI. Hopefully he can help me with that, but that will be for another meeting. Are we good with everything? Did you guys need an explanation of like a continuous plan, like what that
Just explain
is?
what
Okay,
what a
so
school improvement
a school improvement plan. So just like a report card, schools also have homework. And every year we have a big project called or a continuous improvement plan where we have to look at how we did the year prior. And we have to say, okay, this is where we are, but this is where we would like to be by next year this time. And so we build out goals based on where we were, and we use a growth measure. So technically the state kind of tells you, this is where you were, this is where we want you to be. But our district also kind of has their own measure as well that gives us a little cushion. So if we don't necessarily make their cushion, will definitely hit the state. And I'll talk through what that is once we get to those slides. So our continuous improvement plan is kind of like our big group project that we have to do as a school, that when you guys think that we're just blitzing around, that we're actually working on every day, every period. Like, what are they doing? Our big group project. So that is what the continuous improvement plan is. And we're basically tracking ourselves, tracking our goals, constantly coming back to the table to say, are the things that we're saying that we're doing working? And I do have some kind of updates in my updates to talk through you guys through, so you can have a clearer picture of what are the action items or the things that we're saying we're doing as well.
Is the improvement plan as well used against our title dollars? Are we required to have a school improvement plan or continuous improvement plan
I hear your question.
for Title I?
So Title I, they're required to have a different type of improvement plan. So there are areas in the improvement plan that Title I schools have to speak to. Usually in terms of how are you going to engage your parents? What are you going to do for like your school-wide program? But every school in Atlanta Public Schools is required to have a continuous improvement plan. It's just that Title I schools may have to fill out a few more pieces that speak to their family engagements. When you look at the goals though, just like your teachers do or district tells us, these are the areas that you must focus on in your continuous improvement plan. So we write our goals to meet those areas, and you'll get to see what those are. Okay, we're good with what our improvement plan is?
Yeah.
Okay. No, never. So the 3 key resources that we're going to look at tonight, everybody should have a copy of the previous 5-year strategic plan. We are going to look at our, and this is not our data, by the way, it's just a sample slide. We're going to look at our continuous improvement plan goals for this year. And then we are going to walk through our key performance indicator sheet. So let us start with, so let's talk through the process, sorry. We're gonna try to review our data. We're gonna talk through our mission and vision and our purpose, and make sure that we're all on the same page in terms of, do we feel like the mission and the vision aligns with what we're saying that we want to do? There is room for us to make tweaks to that if we feel like that is something we need to do. And then we are going to confirm our goals for the next 5 years, identify our strategic objectives, and approve the plan. But I think for tonight's purposes, we may only be getting through 1, 2, and 3 so that we can actually go home. So I think in business meeting 3, which is the next time we meet in December, we'll have an opportunity to identify our strategic objectives, okay? So kind of just get your mind prepared to just kind of focus on our data. Okay, so first things first is our key performance indicators. I'm acting like I can see, hold on 1 second. So there are a few areas that I wanted to highlight that were good first before we kind of get into the nitty-gritty of some things that we feel like needs to address. So you'll see that our 2030 goal for our school climate was 4 stars, and we were already at 4 stars. So that's a great thing to highlight. Of course, something that we already know, enrollment minimums. So in 2030, we were supposed to be at 1,200. Last year, we were at 1,549, and of course, we're already above that. Do we get extra credit? And that's it.
We deserve it.
And so those are the areas that we are trending either at or above. The teacher experience one was really great to see. The 93.9% of teachers who have 3 or more years of experience. So everything else, we are below where they would like us to be. Of course, we have room to grow in 5 years. So I'm just gonna give you guys a moment just to kind of digest, and then I'm sure the questions will come.
Really quickly, so will we be going like one by one through everything and like discussing what would be a goal to make that 2030 goal for each metric?
Ask me that one more time. Let me make sure.
Would we be going through every metric and seeing as a group how we reach the 2030 goal in each one?
Oh, like kind of setting expectations for each goal?
Or ways to get to the 2030 goal?
So I think what they're probably wanting us to do is kind of choose some priorities from here.
Okay.
So looking at this, looking at what our SIP goals currently are, looking at what our mission and vision are for the school, and kind of from here saying, what are the areas that are going to give us our biggest bang for our buck? And sometimes when you look at data sheets like this that have multiple data points, sometimes if you pick 2 of them, you can hit all. Okay, but it's just about us thinking strategically about what we feel like we need to address. So just kind of look through and think, you know, what are some areas that you think we should prioritize? All right, any notices or wonderings about our performance indicators?
It's obviously the first one, but when I look at what we would need improvement on, look at the ones that have over 20% improvement needs on them. And I think for college and career readiness is the one that kind of sticks out to me. How the goal was so high and how we're behind the district performance and 23 points behind our.
Okay.
That trying to focus on that one can also be to a lot more.
Okay, agreed. Anybody else have anything they noticed or wondered about?
Looking at student staff relationships, as well as then kind of backing that into staff engagement and safety perceptions. And to kind of throw all of those things in together, we're kind of low on all of those, it looks like.
Where it says % of students feeling comfortable going to most or all of the adults. Yes.
I could kind of put all of those in a bucket, right? Like when you look at these relationships between staff and staff engagement, how students perceive their safety in the building. I also think it's hilarious that they're
I think you can also lump attendance into that, because if you don't feel safe, why go to school? Or heard, exactly.
But it's interesting that the attendance rate is so much higher. It's double the student-staff relationships.
Yeah.
So that doesn't seem to be a barrier for them coming to school, at least. Which I think is good. That I was actually going to ask maybe a little more of an explanation of really how are they evaluating that? What are the data points behind
For which one?
percent of students feeling comfortable going to most or all of the adults? Most or all of the adults is a lot. You
Okay.
might have one teacher that you love and that's your go-to teacher. My kids had a school mom and that's who they went to for everything. A
Yeah.
couple of them. So the idea most or all feels like potentially in high school, a big number of adults. And so is that actually a question that is being asked of the students, or is that a summary, or what does that mean? I think
Okay, great question, which will have me pose a question to you guys. So that is going to come from our school climate survey. Would it be helpful for you all to see when we do our data digs with CCRPI, would it be helpful for you to see what a sample student survey looks like and kind of look at holistically how the students answered on different things? I can't,
Yeah.
I can't remember if that is how the question was worded exactly, or was it a summary? I have to look back to see.
In high school, I would have said no. I mean, because that sounds like a lot of people.
Yeah.
And do you feel?
But maybe, yeah, maybe that is like a messaging thing, like.
Because
every
it doesn't,
every teacher
it
here
would
wants-
align to attendance. Attendance is double that. So that just makes me, I just wanted a little more info about that question and those questions around that. Because I don't want to create. And what strategies are in place? I mean, I know we have counselors and this and that to work and engage students.
Mhm.
I would think you would see other indicators as well. If most of the kids didn't feel comfortable with the adults in the building. That just feels.
That's what I was gonna say. I think as a student, I don't blame any teacher for not really developing like that one-to-one connection that would make me say, yes, I can go to you for this, I can go to you for that. They have, obviously with the enrollment, a lot of kids in all of their classes. So some teachers I know, and I try to build good relationships with all my teachers, but I understand like we have a lot of kids in my class, and there would just be some teachers that I click with, or teachers who don't teach me, but I go to their club, and those are the teachers that I feel I can go to. And I think maybe I agree with you that it's a big goal for students to feel like they can go to everyone. I think focusing on, do you have a good amount of teachers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that you can go to for different areas of the school? And I think that can also be with promoting clubs. I think you get a lot more one-to-one time, a lot more experience in a club than you do in a classroom.
And I always thought the question was worded as, do you have a safe person? But I think I'm mistaken. I thought that's what the question was worded as, but I'll have to go back and double check.
Yeah, that's not what this says.
It doesn't. It does say.
That's
What's
super
help,
broad.
right? Is help a personal kind of help, or is help academic help?
Yeah.
Right, because I think those are also, that could be a variable. Are they want someone that they feel like they trust, but they just want help in their class, they feel like that's just not giving it to them?
Yeah.
You know, like that verification.
So, yeah.
So I think that once we get clarity on that, we can build a strategy around it if needed. It might not
Right.
even be needed because
I was questioning that too, like how big, like of course we want the students to all relate to someone, because it's so long, 4 years, and it all on your side, but how big though, I would never guess that was on the.
Yeah.
I would like to see this. I would like to see this.
Okay.
And if it is that, the recommendation would be to change the question, because that's not,
Okay.
State of Georgia, yeah.
That is the state of
isn't the state of Georgia, that's the CCRPI? Okay, well, let's look at
So
it.
the state of Georgia, they come up with the climate survey, and they do a different one for parents, teachers, and students, parents, staff, and students. So we have very little.
You're on a roll tonight. You're on a roll. Now, let me say this. What I will say is, even if it is this, and we have that with this, the district's goal of every child has a success plan,
Mhm.
on some level, that's gonna be connected to an adult.
Mhm.
And so I think there's some things to think about around that
Mhm.
as well.
Yeah.
What that ultimately looks like, I don't know, but I would assume that we'll probably be beaten to our own drum down here and doing it in the way that works for us.
Mhm.
Because it can't be a one size fits all for every school.
No, it can't. It absolutely
So.
cannot. So you guys are gonna have an opportunity of course to still add, but some things that I thought we were like well on our way with, our percent of students completes in pathways in CTAE and fine arts. So we have to make a 7-point increase in 5 years. So I would say we're on the right track with that one. Also, or students earning high school credit in AP, IB, or dual enrollment. That's another 7-point push over 5 years, which I think is very doable. And of course, our percent of seniors who are graduating on time and enrolling in some post-secondary opportunity, I think is something too that we can feel good knowing that we're well on our way toward meeting that 5-year mark. Anybody else have any wonderings or?
And I will just go back, not to beat a dead horse, but when you look at the family engagement support around student success, and then the family engagement, parent board, okay, the responsibility, safety perception, teacher compensation. I guess those are particularly well, that's just about nothing. I'm good. I talked myself through it. I thought it was saying something else.
Okay, I'm going to move to the next slide. Is that good with everyone?
Yep.
All right, so now we are going to talk through our mission and vision. I want to do that before I do the strategic plan goals. So at the top, you have who Atlanta Public Schools is and why we exist. So currently, our mission and vision are what we see here. So I don't want to read to you guys, but I do want us to kind of talk through, do we think that our current school mission and vision align with the statements above in terms of what Atlanta Public Schools, who they feel they are and why they exist? So our mission is about equitable and globally enriching education.
Can we read them?
Sure,
Why don't we have our students read them?
sure.
Yeah, I'll do this. To provide an equitable and globally enriching education that improves inquiring, knowledgeable, and compassionate learners to achieve their academic and professional goals for themselves and the betterment of others.
To be an achieving high school that inspires and prepares all students to interact, collaborate, thrive, and enact positive changes in global good.
Okay, what are our thoughts in terms of alignment with, are we a part of that Atlanta's, the only public school system for Atlantans? Does our mission align with that idea?
Ours seems so wordy compared to theirs. It's a lot of words.
It is a lot of words.
It's.
But are they the right
IB-ish.
words?
Yeah,
It's
it
IB.
has the IB. Right, it's IB.
Traits or whatever, the characteristics or whatever they call it. Learner traits.
There you go.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. It is, it does, compassionate learner, inquiring,
Knowledgeable.
curiosity, inquiring is curiosity, knowledgeable. Yeah.
I have to wonder, because I remember when we changed the mission and the vision years ago, so that we were more in alignment with what IB. And so when I think about what I see the district, that no matter how simplistic it is, The question is, do we still have to remain very much in line with IB because we're in IB one school?
I think we have to, but
Yes.
at the same time, it
So,
only has,
yes, you can't get rid of the working.
it doesn't have, like, we have inquiring, knowledgeable,
Compassionate.
caring, is compassionate. That's only 3 of the 10, like, it's, we don't necessarily have to have all those words.
I actually like it.
Yeah, I like it, but when I'm looking at it side by side, I'm thinking like, well, Birdie.
I don't, well, I don't, you know, I believe that we need to build for our school what is our community. I think to me, the district's vision and mission is just, that's for the whole.
Right.
And we are part, and it's imperative that we are successful as part of the whole. And if that's what describes us as success, whatever that ultimately is, I don't care if it's 100 words or if it's 5.
And it does align, shape the future, enact positive change in the global community, shape the future, achieve their academic and professional goals for themselves and the betterment of others. So, I mean, it does align.
I agree.
And I'll be honest, like when I think of our scholars here, the mission really does embody, like we have
We wanted to build.
probably, not probably, but we have the most phenomenal student body in Atlanta Public Schools. Like if you talk to our students on a daily basis about the plans they have for themselves, what they're doing for their school community, what they're doing outside of school, the mission really does embody a Maynard Jackson Jaguar. As it stands right now, and you guys that work here, you could say, these are just my random lunchtime conversations about like, girl, this is what you should be doing. Like they'll tell you, like, listen, ma'am.
Very opinionated school, I would say.
Pardon?
Every kid is very opinionated.
Yeah.
And they have the space to be that.
Correct.
And it's encouraged and to think big and dream big and be big. And I wouldn't want it, I mean, I'm trying to figure out how we can add dream in there. Because for me, that's what the environment should be. That's what that's what an IB school is.
I think part of that is when you
Think about the
encourage
world.
dreaming big and thinking big as a whole school, you have to give every single student, no matter where they are at their schooling journey, the tools to achieve every single one of those. I think my opinion on that is the biggest way to do that is educating every student, whether they want to hear it or if they don't, on how they can achieve every one of their goals. Because I know a lot of people who just simply think that like something I take seriously is what classes am I taking next year? What is my plan for the next years in high school? I think a lot of people are just saying, yeah, like whatever my counselor signed me up for. I think a lot of people need to know early on in their journey, how do I reach these goals and dreams that I think that also ties it back to the college and career readiness in just as a whole for school. If we encourage, if our mission is that, I think part of our vision is to educate everyone.
Or yeah.
Is it my,
Yes.
Michael, I agree with you 100%, and my passion is college and career readiness and student success. There are some students that just do not know how to articulate what it is that they desire. So my heart bleeds for those students. Even though I'm an IBC teacher, my kids are pretty good, right? Because that's what I do on a daily basis. But my heart bleeds for those that do not know what it is they want to do. And I think some of them may feel like nobody's even asking me what it is that I want to do. Are we waiting till junior and senior year to have these conversations instead of talking a bit more about it in 9th and 10th grade? So I 100% agree with what you said. I would like to work more in that space of helping our underclassmen or our younger babies find some
A voice.
options. Yes, before they get to junior and senior.
That's one of our last slides tonight. Great. Okay, so you previewed that.
I'm still thinking about this student success thing.
I'm all over the side.
Yeah, and Summer Bridge and early intervention with that to, because that's the, but a lot of kids don't come to Summer Bridge, so, yeah. You gotta think of that, yeah. Yeah, is it growing? Does it continue to grow? That's good.
It seems like a lot. Yes.
But in, right, but in
The
comparison to
percentage,
how many kids. we have.
500 freshmen.
I did want to touch base on what you have to say. It's not great, I do. I think that we do need like slight changes, because I agree, like the lower class, we should be informed about certain things. But I know that like when it comes to like college trips and stuff, they're like, oh, mostly for the juniors and seniors. So it kind of like takes away, so it's like, oh, it's just for the juniors and seniors. I'm just gonna when I but I feel like if we implemented that when like, sorry, we have the town hall meeting, I think that they will be more engaged and pay more attention. It also include IB as well and have like student, because I know we talked about this before, but have student representatives talk about the IB program, like be honest about it. I think that we could get more people to join, like more people to be engaged about it, because if you don't hear about it, you're just hearing what people are saying, you're not really being encouraged to do this stuff. So I just want to like make sure that even, because if I was a little, when I was a little classmate, I didn't have people telling me about college trips because it was mostly for the seniors. So it really wasn't on my mind.
And if I didn't have an older sister who's just getting done with the IB program, I would know about all of the nitty-gritty of how rigorous it is, like stuff about like service hours that are required with IB. And I have to inform myself because I want to know what IB is if I go to the IB program, what to do. And I have to inform my friends who I know that their goals and dreams are to take the hardest classes to really put themselves in a position for college, but they don't hear about IB unless they have somebody who's witnessing it or somebody who's going through it and stuff like that. So I think sophomores and even freshmen, just getting them educated on what year 3 and 4 looks like instead of thinking it as upperclassmen and lowerclassmen. I can just whatever for the first 2 years. I don't even know what I'm doing.
I know Dr. King has been really working at making, having the IB ambassadors, and there's a whole new group this year that it's kind of, students, they're, I think it's not Black student, but what is it called? It's General Combs.
I don't know.
I don't know the name either,
I
it's
should know.
escaping me, I should know it too, but,
Black and IB.
yeah, Black and IB, yeah. And so we're doing that, but maybe if we had it more interwoven with, have specific times like an advisement for.
Yes,
Visit.
so one of the things that Dr. King and I are working on now is just a calendar of dates and events for us to do a lot of the things that you're mentioning. So how can students be more forward-facing with our 8th grade students? With our current 9th and 10th grade students, not only so that we can promote the program so that we truly have students who are entering the program knowing what they're taking on for the next 2 years. So we are in the process of kind of mapping out some dates and some different events to hit those different grade levels and groups. But definitely wanting to kind of do more at King so that our students can come over with the mindset of, okay, here is what it can look like once I get to Mayor Jackson. And these are all things that I know have been done in the past.
And we're gonna have a project in 10th grade.
Yeah. And we're gonna have a big project in 10th grade. But these are all things I know we've done in the past, but kind of just looking at what we did, what worked, and kind of tweaking some stuff moving forward. All right, are we good to move forward?
Is everyone good with, I'm not inclined to change it. Is anybody interested in? I think it's
So
okay.
there is a slide for us to propose any updates to our mission and vision. Okay, all right, so let's talk our current plan. So what we had in place. Oh, my copy isn't that great. So the SMART goals that are currently were in place on the previous 5-year plan was I focused on progression from scoring developing to increasing the number of students scoring proficient and distinguished on all Georgia Milestones exams. There was also a focus on increasing the number of students earning 3 or higher on AP exams and 4 or higher on IB exams, which in those cases are, of course, the qualifying scores to receive college credit. Good news is we've already surpassed this, but maintaining and improving a graduation rate of 80% and above in 2022 and beyond. We're currently at the 91.3 for that. And the last one being increasing the number of students in each signature program, which are IB, AP, and dual enrollment to equitably reflect students in all subgroups of our schools. So having a better representation of what our school demographics is in all of our school programs.
Can I just jump in real quick?
Sure.
Starting with the last one. Obviously, we can change all of these and probably should have some conversation around that. But I do like the idea of talking about our signature programs because we are an IB school. But I think we need to add ACCA to this because that is career pathway and we need to be acknowledging it. And there will be an expansion of the facilities. I think that we need to, there's been a high demand and the demand is continuing to grow. And we need to really, that is a huge opportunity that we need to continue to sell and promote for kids who don't want to go to college because it is okay. You don't have to.
What is this?
I think that if more students knew about it's the bus comes here, picks you up, takes you back. It's free. They have lunch, they have breakfast. Not that matters, but I'm saying like to go them to school here with us.
Yeah.
And they want to get some things out of that. They're both
I love that.
I like to see something.
You said what?
They got a replacement carpentry teacher.
Oh, okay.
So,
Sorry. I was like,
Carpentry.
what happened? I thought you said something else. I was like, wait, what? Okay. Sorry.
But they have 16 different pathways
It's amazing.
from culinary arts to
Barbering,
Cybersecurity.
health care,
automotive, yeah.
Aviation technology.
Yep.
That shows. I've never heard.
So it's a magical place and you will hear about it come December, January. So that will be one of your options to choose for next year if you want to.
Yeah, but and obviously I have different wants and things, but I know there will be people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there will be kids.
ACCA, and maybe all they hear is IBCP vaguely, but somebody who does want to do ACCA should be thinking about that. Yeah, I mean, first.
What grade are you in? Okay, yeah, you're gonna hear about it in 10th grade.
So we usually, so I'm happy you guys are saying this. Usually we wait until the 10th grade year to present it. But I think having in 9th grade, like, listen, I want to do barbering. Let me make sure this GPA, because there of course are GPA requirements. But I think starting it earlier so that I can have in my mind, oh, I can't play these games in these particular classes. So yes, I will take that feedback and give it to the counselors. That's a great idea.
Would it be possible at, before school starts, like meet the teachers?
Open house?
Would it be possible to get a table?
I thought that we did have a table. I have to double check. I thought we had a table for all of our dually enrolled programs. So ACCA dual enrollment. I will double check, but I thought that was one of our table spaces, but I'll double check to make sure. Today, the students went on a tour for ACCA just to kind of get a feel, see, it's really a magical place. It really is.
Incredible principals.
Partnerships are absolutely
Incredible principals over
amazing.
there. They're doing great work.
They have partnerships with Delta, with like just all of the people that can put you in position for what your life could and should be post-secondary.
And that's not to take kids to the ninth grade even.
That's what I was about to say. Expose them early in ninth grade, like during.
Or maybe
their-
ACA just has a big open house that everyone.
Yeah,
comes to,
so
you know,
the
here.
problem
I know
is
it's hard to
you,
get.
you do have to be a certain grade level, and that's why we usually wait until the 10th grade too. But I think it gives ninth graders something to look forward to if we kind of mention it earlier, like these are the requirements, these are the things that you can get involved in.
Like
for
when you're,
ACCA.
when you're doing the IB talks, do also all the signature talks at the same time. So they will know all options. So you do the IB, the AP, dual enrollment, you know what I mean?
Gotcha.
All
Yeah,
of them
it's
at
a
the same time as
yeah.
opposed to just focusing on IB when you're going to, and not to say King you can focus only on IB, but when they get here during their, what is the summer thing, bridge and, you know, whatever ninth grade town hall you have, let them know their options early.
Mhm.
That way they'll know their choices.
So something, Dr. Lashman, that you said a moment ago, with them having to be at a certain grade level or number of credits, and the GPA, of course, that needs to be whatever the minimum is, I'm not sure what that is. But when we talk about like the town hall, bringing all these babies into the auditorium and they are hot and, you know, woo, they are rockets. But I'm thinking if we can present the information in smaller forms
Mhm.
and maybe even see if we got some ACCA kids here that would be willing to go in and talk to the students in a classroom because it's more intimate, as opposed to having somebody on stage
So
talking
big.
to them while it's doing this.
I got you.
You know, listening at
So
all.
thinking of the format of how we're presenting the information.
But they do need to receive it, I think, in the ninth grade as far as getting the information.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I think from a getting the information standpoint, I think there's so many ways to do that. Do you want to be a barber? Are you interested in cybersecurity? Like really doing it where it's more inquiry based. Ask me questions about these, you know, ACCA really should be its own. I mean, it is its own thing, but I think what you're saying, which is early engagement,
Mhm.
might end up being motivators, particularly if counselors are sitting down doing schedules. You can really quick, if kids have already stated, I want to be a barber, then now all of a sudden you're thinking about, or I want to go into cybersecurity, which I know there are kids who came into school thinking about those things. I want to be a carpenter. Then you're building a schedule differently. Or not, maybe not differently, but you know, it's something for them to look forward to and work. There's a goal. It's not just the mundaneness of school.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think we don't need to get into execution. I think we still have to get through kind of the rest of these goals, right?
Yes, we're gonna do goals and strategic priorities.
So real quick, do we think that we can go ahead and take off the graduation rate because we've really already achieved that? And do we think that there are areas that are more, you know, the SMART goals are what we're looking at. And so we've kind of achieved graduation rate, and that's a tweak. I think, what are the areas like culture and climate, and do we want to keep out of all of these four? Maybe we should just real quickly rank, you know, what do we think, are they still relevant? And what would we want to keep and what would we want to let go? Do we want to have, and the same for you as well, because this should tie into the continuous improvement plan.
Yes, which we need to actually look at too.
But I want to kind of are we trying to get out with some hard?
So tonight we're supposed to get out with some goals. Now, whether they are going to be our set in stone goals, I think we have time to make tweaks, but I think we should have an idea leaving tonight where we're saying we're going to rest our hats.
So let's
on.
at least have topics.
Yeah, and we can, but I'm going to show you guys also to sit. But Anaya, did you have something you wanted to share or say?
It was gonna be, you said something about having it in smaller classes, and now that we're doing advisory, maybe that could be an opportunity where the ACCA students, the ninth graders or the 10th graders, now that they're all in one class.
I agree, I think that's a very good advice.
How
Some video.
Sure.
That makes
Yeah, there's so many ways to get that out, so.
Hey, guys, it's 6:42. I'm gonna try to.
Sorry, guys.
That's
I'm
okay.
going.
I went
It's
off
my
too.
fault.
So this is the stuff we care about. So.
Yeah, it's my
I
fault.
do have a question about the graduation rate. If you take it off of the SMART goals, it does not mean that we are no longer keeping it in mind to continue to increase, right?
I'm gonna ask the question because graduation rate is kind of one of those things that we're always asked to look at for our continuous improvement plan, which we're gonna go over now. So for our,
And maybe it's college and career
yeah,
tied into
that. But
Maybe we reword it.
for our continuous improvement plan for this current school year, we were asked to focus on, all schools are asked for 3 high schools have to do a 4th one, which speaks to grad rates. That's a requirement for all high schools. But our 3 goals kind of focus on the same big buckets that the district focuses on: literacy, numeracy, something whole child or climate related, and grad rate. So for us, our literacy goal was to establish a baseline for the new literature and composition milestones assessment that reflects a 5% increase of students scoring proficient and above. So the new test begins this year. So we don't have baseline data for that. So how we came up with that number from 33.3% is we used what we scored proficient and above from our American Lit test. So even though the tests are not apples to apples, what we're saying is with this new assessment that the state is giving us, we do not want our baseline to fall below this where we were currently with the old test. So we are trying to do a 5% increase of students scoring proficient and above. I'm sorry, I have an extra T there, guys. From 33.3% to 34.97%. So that's our literacy. For our math goal, the goal is by spring 2026 to increase the percentage of students scoring proficient and above on the algebra concepts and connections milestones by 5%, from 28.7% to 30.14%. Our school climate goal is to increase the overall student average daily attendance from 87.1% to 89.7%. And then our required goal from the district as a high school is to reduce the total number of dropouts and to increase the graduation rate to 91% or higher. So remember that that goal was set based on last year's graduation data. So these are the goals that we're currently tracking in our big group project as a school, like to get to by the spring of next year. So does anyone have any questions?
I do have one quick question. When we talk about dropouts or a student that is no longer on our roster, I left Mayor Jackson and I transferred to North Atlanta because I moved. Is North Atlanta now able to claim that student when they graduate from that school, but we are at a deficit because they are not with us
No,
anymore?
we're not.
Okay.
The only time we are at a deficit is if we have a child that leaves and we have no idea where they
Okay.
are. But no, we would
Okay.
still get our credits.
Okay.
So the exercise was to, and this is partially done because we're still waiting on the official data for subgroups from CCRPI to be on embargo, disembargoed, one of those 2 words. But taking our continuous improvement goals and now saying, okay, over a 5-year period, if you were here today, where should you be in 2030? So the district as you saw from the goals, is looking for a 20% increase from over a 5-year period.
But the 20% increase over a 5-year period is a 3rd grade for the district.
For the district,
Yeah.
but taking that and using it for our own literacy, our own numeracy, our own school climate goals, they're still wanting us to use that same 20% metric. Does that make sense? So they have their specific goals in terms of this is what it looks like at the 3rd grade for literacy, numeracy at the 8th grade, college and career readiness. But now what this exercise asked is, if this is your continuous improvement plan for this year, what should that look like over a 5-year period tracking these goals? That was what that asked
I think that's a stretch.
was.
I do.
For
I don't, that
20%
doesn't,
year.
yeah, well, no, 20% at 3rd grade makes sense because nobody can read. The majority of the district can't read. And the problem that we face, and I wish someone was on from the district tonight, because the problem we face is we don't teach reading. That is not our job at the high school level. And so you're saying a 20% increase on American literature, that is a handful of teachers that are then responsible for all of this, because unless we're going to start implementing reading classes in after school, or, I mean, we're going to have to start teaching people to read because they're showing up and they can't.
And I have some ideas.
Okay, you
for a
do?
later discussion.
Okay. Same thing with math? You've got some ideas?
It's not the same ideas with math, and
But you have ideas.
you also have to understand that the ideas I have, I'm in a world with unicorns, and it may not be possible, but the ideas are there.
But the strategic plan can't be unicornville
Exactly.
because that's what you're being held accountable for.
Exactly.
And so,
But the ideas, they're there. I just don't know in terms of how wide of a spread I would get with what I'm thinking of doing. How many students would it really impact? So that's what we're still kind of in the.
I mean, I will be
stages.
really honest with you. For me, as someone who served many years on a Go team, and the whole concept of building a strategic plan, if this is the guideline, it's built for us. This is us building a strategic plan. And so if they want it, they don't need, I mean, for lack of a better word, they don't need us if they're basically telling us what the goals are. And so I am gonna have a conversation with Travis.
No. So I think maybe I haven't gotten to this slide yet. So we were supposed to take all the things that we talked about and then now say, are there any proposed additional goals that we feel like?
No, I'm
that
not, but basically we're gonna have 3 goals, correct? One around numeracy, one around literacy, one around, is that? Whole child and climate? So they're telling us that's what they want our strategic goals to talk
No,
about?
I did, that's not how I received it. So I received it as how are the goals or the strategic plan goals that we're going to come up with? How is it going to also help to support the literacy goals that we have, the numeracy goals that we have?
I thought
But I
you
don't
were
think-
saying those
So
percentages.
the formula we got was to write our continuous improvement plan. That's what you guys saw. And kind of looking at what that growth looks like over a 5-year period. But as the Go team, we still do have the autonomy to use those goals, the SIP goals for 2030, use our KPIs to now say, how do we want our strategic goals to look in order to help us meet some of those goals? So it's not like set in stone, it's still kind of the same format as this, but kind of giving some background of what the SIP looks like, what the KPIs are to help us with does that make sense what I'm saying?
So they want us to use that literacy still math and culture as our guidelines and build them up to that. Is that what you're saying?
Kind of, sort of.
So we still use what they're kind of telling us.
So let me see if I can, okay, so like the first SMART goal was progression from scoring developing to increase proficiency on and distinguished scores on Georgia Milestones exam. That takes care of the literacy and the numeracy because those goals are also based on Milestones exam. But it doesn't mean we have to spell out, we're doing a literacy goal, we're doing a numeracy goal, but does this SMART goal still help us achieve that continuous improvement goal? Does that make sense now?
Yeah.
So like another one, maintaining the grad rates or
I think that
increasing
should
the number of students in each signature program of IB, AP, and dual enrollment. That speaks to climate. So now we're trying to get all of our students dialed in and involved in what are the programs that we're offering here and what's best for each group of students. So it still takes care of that continuous improvement goal, but it's more of kind of like a broader vision for where we think our school community needs.
So you to bring them back to that.
Yes.
With that in mind, I do think just based on the results, we should have something that's a little more focused on culture and climate.
Okay.
Because very specific to culture and climate, because I think you could combine the green and the orange. That's probably the best way to say it. If you all look at the green and the orange, which are talking about, or you could combine the blue and the green. But if you want to talk about test scores, you could add to the milestone scores, AP scores, you could add all of that into one bucket instead of having it in two separate buckets, and then have something very specific around culture and climate, because I think here, and this is something we talked about last year, culture and climate, we are in the fine tuning of culture and climate here. We have all of these clubs. We have all of this school spirit that we're continuing to grow. How do we kind of, and use that as an engagement beacon and continue to grow that? I think those conversations to help get kids engaged through the fun of school are really, really, really important. And the staff. And starting to, you know, if we're doing success plans for students, or some version of that, that could be identifying in ninth grade what your pathway is. What do you want to do? And doing it early. I just think we need something about your vision for your life at Maynard Jackson, culture, climate, whatever. I think you can go in a lot of different directions with that. But I do think if we have to have, if we're gonna have graduation rate, that should have college and career attached to it.
Yeah, I like some green.
And then putting the blue and the green together, and then putting the culture and climate to be determined. It could be broken up for students and for staff. Because staff, they need to have their voices heard and excited about coming to work every day.
So I just want to make sure I'm clear. For one of our SMART goals, we want to, instead of splitting it apart, was focusing on student achievement on all assessments. So from the state level to the international level.
Yes.
And putting a number or a percentage increase on those, combining it.
I would, based on the data, I would maybe give them different. If you have to give them a percentage, I would give them different. I don't think you have to necessarily make it a blanket percentage.
Okay. So that would be now one goal.
Yes.
Did anybody else have thoughts on the college and career readiness? I mean, the school climate goal? Culture and climate.
I think it definitely should be that. In some way.
I think we need to think about what that.
What it
word
is, what that statement would be.
Something
Yeah,
that we can measure too.
Something that's measurable.
It's measurable.
Realistic.
I think defining culture and climate for both staff and for the children and maybe even families. Yeah. And then using kind of the things we have already in place, where it sounds like, it feels like parent engagement, we're doing fairly well based on what's been said. But when we build out objectives, strategic priorities, strategic priorities, you can get more into the specifics. Building a culture and climate where students, staff, and families
Okay. All right, so far I have, once we narrow it down, it should define the culture and climate and what that means for all stakeholder groups, students, staff, and parents and families.
right, but I think we need to have probably an action word in there.
How would that-
Growing, yeah, we can get into the specifics. Growing,
Sustain,
Yes, sustain, I like that word.
gotta sustain. Gotta get it and gotta sustain.
grow,
We can say improve.
yeah,
It's
improve.
at some level right now.
Mhm.
It might be low, but improve is sustain something.
Grow, sustain, improve. Hit that ChatGPT. Put in the ideas and see what it spits out.
What are we planning on, for whole child climate? What are we planning on, what metric are we thinking about for sustainable
Growing engagement,
engagement?
through, I mean, we can, I don't know that in that goal, we want to put the specific things, we would put it down in the objectives, but it might be things like club participation, how many students are participating in a club, looking to get to 100%, well, not 100, but, you know, declaring in freshman year, your first, your future self, your future of Maynard Jackson, you know, this idea that in ninth grade, every ninth grader is gonna declare, and so then you can track that by saying we had 100% participation.
So, you know, one of the things, I was writing down things that we need to bring to the next meeting, like the Georgia Climate Survey questions. And one of the things I was wondering is if the counselors have some sort of paperwork they have students do individually about their goals. So you don't think of that.
It would have started this year.
I was wondering maybe they have some sort of metric for the,
I think
for student
maybe-
engagement.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Maybe we could say something along the lines of growing, sustaining the amount of students that feel confident in where they want to be. And if they have the necessary tools to reach support.
I think one of the things we could maybe do too that might hit what you're saying is taking a specific portion of the climate survey, rewording maybe what it says, and that way we know we can track it because that's data that we have to do each year and results that we know we'll get back so we can kind of measure to see how we're doing. So when I bring the information from the climate survey next, I almost said next year, to our next meeting, we could look to see like what those different questions are and kind of which questions would help us to word the goal a bit better. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The fear is I don't want us to come up with a statement that we really won't be able to track to say, okay, this is something that we're actually on track to meet or we're doing better to meet. So kind of a combination of our thoughts and what the state has as their indicators of what's considered good culture and climate.
Well, and remember, the goal has to be really high level.
Yeah.
The strategic priorities are going to break down how it's all the places that we're going to measure it. So,
And can we go backwards a little bit and maybe think about like what things we want to measure, and then that can inform our big vision. Like I like the fact that like, how can we measure how many kids are in clubs? You know, like, how do we measure that? How do we measure how our counselors are, you know, how do we implement something where our counselors are talking to each student about what their goals are? How do we measure something with staff, how do we measure something with families, and then bring that up to like, oh, okay, here's our big goal.
well, and it could be developing the actual plan. The goal could be developing a plan to right? And then what the action, the outcome that we want, because we don't have anything developed. Does that make sense?
Develop actions to.
Get because it's a two-step process. Because you're going to activate different areas of you're going to be involved in that, but in a different sort of way. So how do we embed it in every area of the school? I think that's another thing, embedding it throughout the school.
Okay.
I have a quick question. As it relates to increasing student engagement, is that the right, am I using the right term?
Sure.
No, in a place where, okay, let's just say that that's the right term. When we talk about scheduling, Dr. Lashman, I know there's little wiggle room for freshmen because their classes are pretty, solid with the core. But when we think about freshmen in college, how at HBCUs, many of them now have like that survival course that maybe is a semester long. Is it possible that the state of Georgia may have something in their directory of classes, when the counselors pull the different classes to have students enrolled in, that we could do something like that for our freshmen?
We do. It's called high school transition.
Do we talk about?
I talked to a couple people who were in those classes. I'm not sure what they.
Okay.
So I think, so we have high school transition. It's
Okay.
currently a semester-long
Right,
course. I think what we probably likely would need to do is to kind of get an idea from students. And that could be a quick survey of how did this class impact your decision-making? But I can't think of the specific questions now, but a way to monitor is the state course that is recommended for our freshman students. Is it something that's effective and working?
I think
So it's there, but is it impactful? I think is probably our next step would be to measure its impact.
Do we do a curriculum that has already been created from outside of the district, like by the state?
Like, is there a curriculum for the high school transition?
I believe there is, yes. There should be a curriculum for the high school transition class,
I
because
think
they've had it for quite some
Yeah.
time.
personally, I wasn't interested in taking high school transitions. I didn't know about it before I got here. Because in middle school, as we talked about in the last one, you take Algebra 1 in middle school for some people, and then going into my freshman year, I wanted to take as many as I could, so I took one. So that was my one elective. So I had to take all my core classes, the pathway, and stuff like that. So if it were to be, oh, I'm interested as a different student, oh, I want to be in the most rigorous classes, but I also want to learn about what the next 4 years is going to be like and all these things that we talk about, that might be taking up weight on the schedule. Like I have health classes that I still need to make up that I want to take the most rigorous classes, so I'm not going to take them in school. So I think that high school transition for the people who are aware that the classes they take sophomore and freshman year really do matter, they might be less inclined to take that class, and it might be something that the student will have to seek out or will have to be implemented outside of a block like class.
So I have a question that's kind of a little bit adjacent to what we're talking about. Would it be possible for us to go to the data, or we have a data person here for our school, that's assigned to our school without mention that earlier?
Oh, yes, Mr. Patel.
Would it be possible for us to go to that person after this meeting and get possible ideas on the different metrics to evaluate whole child
Oh,
school
absolutely.
climate, and then come back, and then once we have more kind of solid things to look at, then pick one as maybe.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sitting here looking at this and then I'm looking at the priorities and initiatives, which dig a little deeper. And when you're looking at the SMART goals are very like specific driven. And I do think we could combine it, blue and green, but I think the SMART goal for culture and climate should be an actual attainable number, or maybe not number, a statement of what we want to get to. And then all of those things that you're talking about are really in the priorities and the initiatives, the meat and potatoes of it.
Gotcha.
The goal is really just a goal. We want to have more engagement. We want to grow our student engagement with, we want,
Like creating a supportive school climate or something like that.
yeah, or something like that. But I guess the biggest measurement that we have of that is CCRPI and our district survey.
The state survey and how our district kind of measures culture and climate is by looking at attendance and discipline.
Then I think that those things then I think that's what the goal is at the top of it.
Okay.
And then we can talk about the things, the priorities and the initiatives should be the things that help promote that. So if
like
every kid is in a club,
Clubs.
they're probably gonna come to school at some point because they want to go to club. So, right? Or sport, or they're engaged. So maybe it's, at that high level of increasing attendance, reducing level 4, 3, 4 discipline, whatever, however you term it, and in developing an overall positive school culture and climate.
Okay, so I want to recap because I want to make sure when we come back out, we can have the goals set. So we're combining blue and green to make one overall academic goal.
Yep.
We are keeping orange and adding ACCA. We are creating a culture and climate goal that's going to speak to attendance and discipline, with the ideas that we talked about being our main priorities and action steps to achieve that.
And then we're gonna have the graduation rate with the
College and career readiness.
Yeah, combined.
Okay, so that's all.
That's
of
the
that.
4.
And we're changing grad rate, of course, to making sure we
Absolutely.
maintain. So now that we've hit
we're
over
maintain.
90, the state is gonna ask us to always be at 90 or above to not
So we'll maintain.
be penalized. Okay,
And then growth for college and career readiness.
does that sound
Yeah.
good? Does everybody feel good about that?
Does that sound good to you?
Yes. But we also have to like leave the room knowing that we felt heard and seen. So we will have that typed up for next time, because the next time we come back, that's when we get into like the priorities and the strategies or the actions, if you will, of how we're going to achieve said goals.
I will just say this, and maybe we don't want to do this. I do think it's, I think just because this is a pretty big task, that we might need to be prepared to have another meeting, if we need to. Maybe during the day, a Zoom,
Oh, gotcha.
if we need to flush anything out. We might not need to,
Okay.
but I do want to put that out there, because I do think that we don't have to come in person. We can still notice it, but I do think it's more important to get it right than to. And you
Agreed.
might be able to come back with everything,
Agreed.
but I'm more concerned about, I think we need some time on the priorities and initiatives.
Okay.
And hopefully, in the meantime, I don't know if you have your little strike team of educators over here, that you all could maybe even spend a little time thinking about. I would love to hear from you all, your suggestions around the priorities and the initiatives, particularly around culture and climate.
Okay.
Because I am not an educator or an implementer, and I don't want to be in here telling people what to do.
I got you. Okay. So
Save
we
time.
will have that for our next time.
Okay.
Now we're at the principal's report. I won't be long. I
Okay,
see-
go. No, that's fine. We're good. I know. Everybody gotta go. Okay,
No,
go.
that's
Bye.
fine. Please, if you need to. So I know we've done like a lot of talking about data, but one of the data points that we did not have an opportunity to view just yet, and I wanted this group to see it before CCRPI becomes live. This is just kind of more raw data for IB and how our students did on in terms of getting qualifying scores on the different subjects. I'm sorry, you all.
Bye.
So we have some really bright spots, or IB Lit HL, 84% of our students received qualifying scores. We also had some significant increases from the previous year to this year. We have some areas, of course, that we are kind of have our eyes on this year in terms of what some priorities and focus points need to be in the area of IB math, IB business management, and there was a decrease in TOK from the previous year to last year.
Is this performance on the IB test?
The IB test, the percentage of students getting qualifying scores on the IB test.
So 4 to 7.
Yes. Last year, we ended with 12 students qualifying for the diploma and 26, I hope my number is right, I believe 26 students earning the IB certificate for the career-related program. So
hold on, how many kids were in the program?
So on the side, it tells you
Oh, I see,
the
82 for
enrollment. So
seniors.
the two highlighted boxes. So that second one where it says senior enrollment, it tells you the number of students that took each exam.
Okay, so when we get down, so we have 43 who got the certificate out of 68 and 13 out of 38.
Yes, the number that I received today though was 12. We had 8 students who were only 1 point away from receiving the diploma. So it's kind of like
Can we do
that.
a column for that?
So it's kind of like
1 point away.
it's kind of like that thing when we talked about the one student off from meeting the grad rate. So kind of like digging deeper. What was that extra push needed to get that extra point? But those are our numbers for that.
My kids got their certificate.
But you know, like getting the diploma means you knocked it out of the park for all the subjects. Like,
Right.
so, you know, just for.
That's why.
But yeah.
Are there other IB high schools such as?
North Atlanta.
North Atlanta.
And they've been IB for like 30 years.
Okay, so
They have a
they
much
got
bigger
population as well, so they're,
Huh?
yeah.
No,
They're
No,
STEM,
they're
they're
AP.
STEAM, right?
they've never been
Like
IB.
STEM.
Yeah.
And then I think Mays is
Farrell.
Farrell's
No,
no
Farrell's
longer,
Okay, they
no
pulled
longer. This
it
is
out,
their last year.
which is probably good.
but Mays, and then
'Cause they
closer
weren't
to us
using
in
it.
neighboring is Decatur
Okay.
High. So a look at our AP data. So this is our data from our AP classes, and there were quite a few things to celebrate. So quite a few subject areas that saw some increases: AP Biology, AP Art, a few of our social studies areas like Human Geography saw a huge increase from 26% to 66%. AP Lang was also one, and AP Psychology and Stats were some of our bright areas. And then, of course, we have some areas that we have to kind of figure out, well, what went wrong? Like our AP Calculus, we had such a strong year the previous year, and then for it to take the dip that it took, like, you know, what
I mean, Deuce got a 1.
what happened?
shocking.
Yeah.
He said
what
he said he
happened
got to it and
there?
didn't know anything.
So
It was
same teacher, same method, so kind of talking through what could have happened from that year to year. And then there was a dip also in one of the computer science areas, computer science A. Principals saw a slight decrease as well, and then, or AP Lit, very slight decrease from 22% to 21%. So, and then those are the number of students that tested.
I can tell you that, at least in Deuce's calculus class, most of the kids weren't doing their work. They just weren't.
This was, I'm
And
sorry.
he was trying.
I wanted to show you guys pathway data, but I did not have an electronic copy. But we'll
What's the
talk.
big synopsis?
Our students did really well with increasing our pathway scores. So our students have to take an end of pathway test in most of our CTAE areas, so audio, video, engineering, and we had, I think we were higher than the district in terms of how we performed on our qualified test. So we did really, really good, but I wanted y'all to have the visual of it because it was something I thought we should hang our hat on and be proud of. And then just one last quick update is kind of some of the work that we're trying to do to meet our goals. On the instructional side, we have been intentionally monitoring our SIP. So each of our IoT meetings kind of involves a SIP tracker. So if this is what the action step in our SIP says, where are we with that, and what are the immediate next steps that we'll need to meet that? So from that, we have already planned and presented a targeted professional learning around co-teaching best practices, because that was one of our action steps that we felt like we weren't adequately making progress toward, and had some one-on-one coaching to provide some lesson plan support to our teachers of students with disabilities. Our weekly monitoring schedule that has been implemented to give us an opportunity to make sure that we're getting a snapshot of all instructional areas. So not just a milestones class. Are we in our IB classes? Are we in our AP classes? Are we in our co-taught classes? Are we in our classes with our ESOL students? So that we really all as a leadership team have an idea of, are our students' needs being met? And if they're not, then what do we need to do to shift that? Now, we realize, and our counselors have been the lead for this, that some of our students need some additional support in order for them to even get to their academic goals. So the counselors made a proposal at the beginning of the year to start small group sessions with our students. So we've started so far, and it's been going well. So some of the groups that we have are a group centered around our students who may struggle with some anger management and conflict resolution, and kind of giving them some tools and talking through some ways to get past that. We have our Jaguars on the Loose, which are targeted toward our students that may have some class avoidance issues. And then we have some students who may struggle with some just emotional regulation and just kind of need some tips on, when the stakes feel like they're too high, how do we kind of regulate in our bodies to get back on track? So
is that done in kind of all the clubs, or is that a specific club?
So these are just students that have been identified by our staff members or counselors, or just needing some extra support to kind of push through. And what they plan to do is they plan to do like 8-week cycles to see, you know, has behavior improved? Have we been going to class? How are our grades looking? There's also a group for students who may be failing some classes and just kind of might need some extra support with, what does it look like big picture with trying to balance these 8 classes and all of the other things that you're asking me to do as a teenager? Because life as a teenager is busy, okay? So just kind of ensuring that our students have the tools. I think it's important that, yes, we teach the content, but I also think it's important too that we do have some students that need us to explicitly teach them how to navigate certain things, or navigate different things. So that's the purpose of the groups. And every 8 weeks, we are going to try to, depending on the progress that we feel like we've made with the small group that we have, we're gonna try to switch out to like a new group of students. So we won't really, they have their metric of how it's working. It's too early to kind of use those. I don't have that data to share with you, but that's data that I'll have to share along the line.
And I think that's a priority in culture and climate. Let me just ask real quick, do we still have a restorative justice coach?
Absolutely.
Okay, and so then they're kind of involved in
Absolutely.
that.
So I'm happy that you asked that. I know I said they're called counseling small groups, but other members of our student support team also support these groups. So our school social worker or restorative practices coach. And then we have in Rebel is a group for young men who want to pour into other young men in the school. And so we also, Mr. DaCosta leads that group, but he also works with some of our other male staff members to do that as well. And then we have also a phenomenal like girls talk support group that is kind of more, you're in that, that's very student led and just gives our ladies just like a safe space to download because it's needed. Yeah, it's needed.
Sorry, very quick, I have to leave, but I talked to Dr. Ashton about for a second. I just wanted to work with, do you think it's okay if we get approval to start an Instagram page to promote what the GO team does and like giving students and parents and whoever a bigger insight into what this is? And me and her could work together to run that page, but like growing the amount of public speakers and stuff and letting people know they have an input straight into the GO team so they know what it is.
So this is what I'd like you to do. I would like you to go on the APS website to the GO team. And there are a number of names and you need to put your proposal together of what you would like to do in writing. You need to take it to Dr. Latchman, let her approve it. And then you need to submit it to the GO team, to the staff at the GO team, because they're gonna have to approve that before we do anything representing APS. And it may spark something broader.
Yeah, for other
For other schools,
So draft a proposal and then get that approved by Dr. Ashman and then go to the.
And then at the next meeting, come back, once you've done your research, and if you wouldn't mind, can we give him a few minutes on the agenda?
Of course.
So what you've put together and who it needs to go to, because you can send emails and say, we have an idea, who does this need to go to?
Okay.
So do all that research. It's all on the GO team website, the people to contact. And
so expound on your email.
Okay.
So kind of
let her see anything before you
Yes.
send it.
Sounds good.
the email you sent me, that's your start for your plan.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
And
I
so
appreciate you
those are
taking
all
that
of the
on.
updates that I have at this time. Does anyone have questions or comments before we close? Pardon me?
Conservation meeting, advisory, what our first meeting.
Oh, how did it go? Was there anything?
Very simple, you were there as well. All we did was elect our
Chair.
vice chair,
Vice
and
chair.
secretary, pick our meeting dates, throw out some ideas that the district can address with us. And I think
Do you have that, Ms. Calloway?
Writing.
Cluster advisory. Okay.
Cluster advisory.
And
We
we
should-
have our next meeting, I think, is November 18th, so we're closing, so
We should probably.
that's what they said.
Yeah, that
They
should
sent
be
us an
good.
email today, Dr. Lashman, of what the proposals were.
Okay, I don't know if
Finalize
it
all
was
of
December,
that,
but
I
you
think.
might be right. Okay, I may be,
We have 3 more meetings.
okay.
After.
And-
Our chair is 2 more.
Ms. Brown.
Yeah.
And from the facilities master plan, they're gonna come back with a new set of recommendations. The board will vote, I believe, in November.
November 4th,
It'll be in
or no,
October.
November.
Yeah, it'll be the November
Yeah.
meeting, yeah. And then there are no boundary line movement, but there will be more discussions around programming. And we're on slate to get an expansion I don't know if we'll ever get the SPOS dollars, but we are one of the top priorities. to get an expansion. So, FYI.
Is expansion mean trailers or expanding?
Well,
building?
the building. No. But that's over like a 5-year period after 2026. So we might have trailers in the meantime. I mean, we might have to do something. Like there is going to come to a point, and I think that's where the administration staff are going to need to be advocate. I mean, teachers don't have rooms.
Some of us have roommates.
We asked about this yesterday.
Well, yeah, you have roommates and you have people who come in for a day. And,
We asked what.
Oh, there's 3 now.
Oh,
was
sorry, it's like
2?
we are now.
Oh, gotcha.
Wasn't happening. And that's.
Got it.
About the.
Yeah, that's why I think, and that's not for today, obviously. I'll adjourn. I'll take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion carries. Thank you. That is a question I am gonna start asking at the next facility meeting. What in the meantime, what's our day
How
of
do you
number?
make sure to stop recording?
Just close
Thing,
it.
and it'll say stop recording or something like that. This meeting is.
Oh, she did the meeting.
Yes, she did. I heard when she looked at it. I did. I heard when she looked at it. It said this meeting.
I don't see it recorded.
Oh, really?
I just hit pause.
Oh, okay.
Or
Yeah.
is that something else? Oh,
Well,
Lord.
that is something, else, but we'll figure. Let's-
Did I record?
It doesn't.
I'm sure you did. She said she heard it. She said you heard.
Yeah, just close it off.
See, it says recording.
Oh, it's up here. Oh, no, it's there.
Can I hit
Yeah,
stop?
just close it. Just close the whole.